Hi, everyone. My name is Valerie Morris. I'm the Director of Communications with Snyder ISD, and I am joined by Dr. Tommy Duncan. He is the new junior high principal, although it probably doesn't feel new now. I mean, we're middle of the second grading cycle, and y'all are just rolling along over there. So
Y-
thanks
Yeah,
for
the
joining
honeymoon was
us.
over day one.
Absolutely. Now, you joined us over the summer, and you have worked in districts facing similar challenges before, and we are so glad to have you at Snyder ISD, and particularly at Snyder Junior High. And as a mom of a Snyder Junior High student too, I am definitely glad to have you over there. Can you
Thank
tell
you.
us a little bit about yourself and what drew you to Snyder ISD? Why did you decide to come out here?
Sure. So education is a second career for me. I did 21 years in radio, and as part of a radio show, met with the superintendent. She was a guest on the show there in Lubbock, and she knew that I had a degree in biology, and she asked if I ever thought about teaching before, to which I said, absolutely not. But she wrangled me in there, and I knew after the first 6 weeks of being a teacher, this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And it was at a very high need school with a lot of tough kids. And I just had this knack of getting to them using real world stuff. I was teaching science to a bunch of seniors who had never passed a science tax test back when the tax test was a thing. And they had not passed it. They were facing either another year of school, dropping out, or, otherwise not graduating that year. So I had, I believe it was nine. We had nine kids in there, and I had one semester to work with them before the tax test. And I was so happy and proud that all nine passed and all nine graduated. And that was like hitting a golf ball perfectly for the first time. And you hear the tink and you see the ball, and you knew that this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So coming to Snyder, I was just really impressed with the people. People were very friendly and they laughed at my jokes, which is usually the first thing that draws me towards somebody. And then seeing the junior high for the first time, I mean, this is probably the most beautiful facility I've ever had the pleasure of working in. And a lot of our learning spaces are very conducive to learning in that 21st century. We have all these kids that come here, they have to come here. So why not provide them with that space that is just amazing and wonderful, both for students and teachers? So all in all, Snyder ISD from top to bottom, I was just very impressed, and I knew that this needed to be home.
Love it. Tell me, you talked a little bit about culture and shaping that culture with some of those kids that were really struggling, and culture is a big part in that. You're very focused on building a strong culture at Snyder Junior High. Can you tell me some of the early signs that you're seeing that that's taking shape?
Yes, culture is everything. You have to start with culture. So with the staff, I had this analogy of, school's like a runway and you're the plane, and you have to clear that runway before the plane can take off. And we even make the example of birds and boulders being in your way, which one's which. And I can go very deep into that, but I won't. But you have to clear that runway, and that's making sure that your culture is intact. And culture is not just student discipline. It's not just anti-bullying or the no fights or disruptive students. It's about how your teachers feel walking into that building. And I knew that I was home when I felt again after being at another campus that was very much a turnaround effort, where I loved coming to work every day. And that's when you know that the culture is improving and you're in the right place. The other thing that I can kind of show you, and I keep these on my desk for times where I need to recenter. But I have these notes that students have made me, and I can show you. There's quite a few. And when they know the things that you like and they know the things that their teachers like, they know that I love Taylor Swift. And a lot of these are Taylor Swift themed. But that's when you know your culture's taking place. When kids feel safe enough to reach out to the principal directly and say, "Hey, thank you for being here." And of course, they do that with their teachers also. It's amazing to see that. So the culture is bright and it's very alive. It's very positive. It's energetic, and there's a lot of excitement in the halls and in the classrooms.
I can tell you personally, I have felt the shift. Just walking through the halls, it is a completely different feeling in the junior high, and it's exciting.
It is. We were lucky to have Region 14 and TEA, a representative from TEA on our campus just yesterday. And the very first thing they said was, this is a radically different school. When we walk into all the classrooms, we're in the hallways. This is just a radical different feeling for those that have been here for the last couple of years. So I'm excited. I mean, this is a great place to start.
Tagging onto that a little bit, and I know it's been a focus and it's been something that has kind of loomed over the junior high for years, and that's talking about behavior. So, student behavior has been a concern in the past. And tell me a little bit about what steps your team is taking to create a more calmer, more focused learning environment for students and teachers.
Of course. And again, that starts with the culture. And so you have to have a culture. You have to have that message to students and teachers and staff and parents and every person that walks onto our campus that nobody has the right to get into the way of someone else's learning. So we've implemented a lot of discipline protocols and a framework that's very effective. Parents, if you've ever heard of Todd, that is exactly what that is. So if a student becomes disruptive in any way and gets in the way of teachers communicating with students or students communicating with teachers, we remove that student. And it can range from just the remainder of that period. We take them into a place called the reflection room, and that's where they look at what was going on and why they acted that way. And you'll find a lot of things are based from, background factors. It's not anything that another student is doing, nothing that the teacher is doing. It's just they're having a bad day. And as a 43-year-old man, I'm allowed to have bad days too. So of course, 12, 13, 14-year-olds are allowed that opportunity also. But it also sends that message that there's a boundary and we're not going to put up with it anymore. One of the things that I'd heard coming in is that the community was tired of their kids not getting an adequate education because of other kids. And so this framework eliminates that problem. And we don't have conversations with the teachers. We don't have that 10-minute, this is how bad this kid has been the whole week. We get in the classroom, we remove the student, teacher does not skip a beat because instruction, I call it sacred time. That 52 minutes every period is sacred time. We don't mess with it. Teachers have to believe that, students have to believe that. And just after the first week, we saw a dramatic, I would say, increase in the awareness of Todd, which means the team on discipline. It's not an actual person that comes in named Todd. But that message was loud and clear and received, and we continue to see a huge decrease in disruptive behaviors in the classroom.
That's great. And I've heard that firsthand from families and from students as well. They all know who Todd is. Sometimes
Yes.
they try to guess who's on Todd for the day.
Yes.
And I heard one teacher say, or one student say, "Oh, you know who's Todd today? You're cooked."
Yep.
And so to another student who had gotten in trouble. So the reputation and the precedent has been set.
Yes, it has.
Tell me a little bit about academic growth. That's something as well that's a focus at Snyder Junior High is that growth factor, not just mastery, but showing growth. What does academic growth look like to you beyond just test scores and data points?
Yeah, so I love test scores. I love data points. I'm a data guy. But there's other factors that you have to take in and other things that you have to be listening and looking for. For me, that's energy and confidence whenever I walk into a classroom. I do these little thing called Mary Pop-ins, and I just come in. I don't take any kind of data. I don't write anything. I don't bring a computer and type up. I come in and just get a feel for the classroom. What are the conversations that are happening? What is the teacher doing? What are the students doing? What are the students saying? What is the teacher saying? And when you walk in, and maybe it's just me, but I get a feeling of what's going on in the classroom just by those things. And I've been in classrooms on other campuses with very low engagement. I would say conversations were very toxic, non-content based, and I know no learning is happening in that classroom. Very happy to say that, just about every classroom I walk into, kids are learning and they're excited and they're talking about the content in a very excited way. And our teachers have a great way of linking real world scenarios and real world knowledge into the math and science and social studies, art, choir, all of the above. And that's how you know that you're moving towards higher test scores, higher data points. And yes, we have data to support that we are growing academically, but we also have a lot of evidence to support that students are buying into the program. They're buying into the message and they want intrinsically to be better and do better.
I think that also comes with a belief that they can. And that's something that's been very important to you as well. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's all about confidence. If I walked around this school with my head down, thinking, "Oh, we're going to fail this coming upcoming test," I've always said that I'm the weather, I'm the climate, and if I come in smiling, no matter what kind of day I had, I know that I'm building that culture that I'm dictating what's happening that day. If I come in sad, people around me start to feel sad, or anxiety, they start to feel anxious. So giving the kids that confidence, and I can tell you another story of, we had a pretty big test to see where we were academically, and we saw a lot of growth. And I was looking for growth specifically. Masters kids staying masters is beautiful. Meets staying meets, beautiful. But I have a special heart for the ones that have not seen success on any kind of standardized exam that are now seeing success. We've had a lot of students move from did not meet last year to now meets and masters, which is a huge deal. That
Mhm.
means what you're doing is working. So I had this idea, and a lot of times I talk without thinking of logistics, that I was going to invite these kids to my office personally for a face-to-face conversation to say, you are a main character in this comeback story. Thank you for trying hard. Thank you for doing what you're doing. And it ended up being about 184 kids that ended up in my office. Matter of fact, I think you walked into one, and it's a beautiful thing to see the kids again building that confidence. Kids at first were very nervous to be in here because historically, if you were called to the principal's office, it was something bad. And very rarely are you called to my office for something bad. And that's just my mentality. I love when kids come in. I've got a whole office decorated by kids. My doors decorated by a kid. I want them to feel comfortable coming in. And so that was that first, I guess, shot across the bow of that. This is not a bad place. And again, just taking that time to say, hey, your principal is looking at your scores, and I'm going to communicate with your mom, your dad, your grandmother about the positive thing that you're doing for this school. And I'm not talking about the grade level. I'm not talking about this class. I'm talking about you, the individual student. And that has changed some kids' perceptions of this entire year. It has erased a lot of things that have happened in previous years. And it was just that one moment. And we're going to continue to do that.
That's great. I love that and involving the kids, letting them see that it's more than just a letter grade. It's really about that growth and continuous improvement. Tell me about supporting teachers. You talked about Todd a little bit, and I know that's a major role, but it's not just about discipline. How are you supporting teachers so they can focus and get better with instruction and relationships with students?
Absolutely. And that starts with the approach that you have to teachers. When we have data meetings, when we have our professional learning communities, our PLCs, content level meetings, faculty meetings, one-on-one conversations in the hall, it starts there. And first, what you're doing is you're modeling how to talk to another human. And sometimes teachers see this wall between them and students, and they say, here's the knowledge, come and get it. And a lot of kids have no idea how to just come and get it. So giving them tools, also giving the teachers confidence, and also that perspective that we're all humans, we're all trying to get to the same goal. You are the person that's going to get them there. So you have to be the one that provides those tools to the students in that safe environment. You're the one that has to build that framework for that student to achieve mastery in what we're trying to teach them. And my job is to model that for them and also celebrate them when they do. And we have tons of evidence and stories that are supporting this paradigm shift that's happening within the adults of this building to where we're not seeing junior highs being a negative awkward, horrible 3 years of your life. Now, this is going to be the most transformative 3 years of your life. As an administrator, one of the things that you learn is to always be listening in the hallways. You will learn about all the drama, who's mad at who, where a fight is going to happen, who's got what in their backpack. And so you're always listening for these things. And I will say that this entire year, you just do that naturally out of instinct. But this year, the conversations have been, oh my gosh, you're never going to believe what we were doing in Miss Byers' class, or how she dressed up, or go look at Mr. Keel today, or oh, I made 100 on that quiz, but I'm not going to help you on it. You're going to have to get your own 100. Those are the things that we're hearing in the hallways, and it's great. It's refreshing to be able to be a part of that, and instead of, oh, I've got to be listening to where the trouble is going to be today. It's non-existent, and it's all about learning, and that's the most exciting thing that I can say about this school, and what gets me excited about being here, because they fill my cup, teachers and students both. And I'm a very emotional person. I take a lot of emotions, and I'm a sponge when it comes to that. And to be able to have that positivity reflected back onto you, it's a continuous cycle, and I love it. It gives me chills just even talking about it.
That's great. Well, and we've had family members up there that have of students that have subbed, that have volunteered, and I'm hearing positive things from them as well. Tell me a little bit about what role you see our community and our family members playing in helping with this success story, with this paradigm shift. What role can they play?
They play the biggest role because they are going to support what we do and say and act here on the campus. They're going to support that at home. But on the other hand, when it's not good, they're not going to support it at home, and there's going to be conflict. And through conflict, you're going to lose trust. So my job is to rebuild that trust. I'm a very open and transparent person. Matter of fact, I talked to a parent just yesterday that said, "Hey, thank you for the communication. This is the most transparency I've seen in years." And she's had multiple kids come through the system, through the junior high. And that's just how I treat parents, because I know that they're trusting me with their child every day. And their safety and their learning is my top concern. So I've got to keep putting that message out there, and being honest, because sometimes it is our fault, and saying, hey, you know what, we messed this up. I'm sorry. This is what we're doing to remedy. But having that relationship with parents is going to help this campus grow exponentially. You can't do it without parents. You can't do it without their support. You can't do it without their cheerleading. And I tell the staff, never underestimate the power of a parent. Because I've heard in the past, oh, parents don't care. They're not going to answer. They never reply to my emails. We're not seeing that here. We're seeing a very active parent base, and parents that have no problem calling me and saying, this is something I heard, this is something I've seen, or hey, this is something that one of your teachers sent home. It was a positive note. This is the first one I've ever had. I can show you parent squares where a parent says, you have no idea what you've done for my kid as far as her confidence. And it's doing those things that's going to get the families back on our side. And again, I would say that a huge majority of our parents are on our side. They want to support. They just need to know how the best way they can support, because they also have lives, they have jobs, they have obligations. So being very transparent and communicative with them on how they can help is going to be key.
And I've appreciated that. I have, like I said, an eighth grader, and we have, especially for some of his more difficult subjects that he's taking this year, great communication from the teachers. It allows us to sit down at night and make sure things are getting taken care of. And when they aren't, there's really clear instructions on what to do. And if I'm not sure, I've reached out and gotten an answer. And
Mhm.
so I would definitely encourage parents to do that, to reach out through Parent Square and communicate with the teachers. Also, a good old-fashioned phone call never hurts either. And you can always call the school, and they may not be able to talk to you right away, but they could set up a time if that's something that's more comfortable for you too.
Absolutely. And if I'm available if there's something I need to know, because that's the worst case scenario. Something happens that we did not know about, or we let something continue over, weeks or months, and it was never brought to our attention until something blows up at the end. And because conflict is going to happen. It's junior high. This is where we learn how to handle conflict. And so it's not so we can prevent something, it's so that we can teach kids how to handle conflict. Because as you can see, when you go to social media, you don't see adults treating people with respect to one another. And so that's something that we've got to start now in the public school system, is teaching kids how to have that conflict, that healthy conflict with somebody else. So always involve us, call us, let us know what's going on, how we can help your student or another student that you know about. We're a very tight-knit community, and there's a lot of people who know their neighbor's business. And, we treat everything with discretion and anonymity. We just want to help kids, and it's not always just math and science.
One of the things that I asked your supervisor, Dr. Gore, is if she had any questions to add. And she said, I definitely want for Dr. Duncan to talk about what he believes makes a great leader and a principal. She felt that was very important for the community to hear.
And so a lot of this is learned. Um, I would say that the biggest characteristic of a great leader or a great principal is that ability to always take a step back and see the big picture of things. Because sometimes you lose the battle to win the war, as they say. Sometimes you have to choose your battles so you can continue on with your mission. Being able to step back and say, is this really what's best for kids? Even if it's something that goes against an idea that I had, or something that I feel passionately about, having that ability to be humble, step back and say, is this what's going to be best for kids and my teachers? I think that's probably the top characteristic. But the second thing, and I mentioned it before, always be the weather. Come in with a smile, come in with the swagger, come in with the confidence, and it'll be contagious.
But I'd like to ask, is there a specific success story or moment from this year that shows the direction that you're heading?
I will talk about one that just recently happened. I mean, there's a lot of them. This has been the one that's been the most powerful as far as a relationship between myself and a teacher, and a veteran teacher. So this teacher has had a quiz that she did not get very great data on, not to her standards. Probably better than what we've seen, but this year we know it's clean slate. We're looking for excellence, and just had a conversation with me about the data. We troubleshot some things. And I said, what are your kids saying about it? She kind of thought about it and she said, I don't know. I said, well, have a heart to heart with your kids and say, this is where we are. How can I better teach you? Like, tell me what problems you're seeing. And before she came back, and she was just all smiles, full of confidence, full of happiness, saying that you wouldn't believe the feedback I got from my kids. And it was very constructive feedback. It was not, oh, we hate this subject, or, oh, you're too mean, or, I didn't, the breakfast here is not good. It's nothing like that. It was, sometimes you help us too much. Let us try it. Let us practice. And it was just a great conversation. And just the fact that as professionals and adults, that sometimes we need to listen to our clients, and that's our families, and that's our students. They come first. And so giving them that input to me shows this change of who's really running things here. And for me, it's I help facilitate. Our parents and our students dictate the direction of this campus.
And talking about that, what are your top priorities for the rest of the year? What direction are you hoping to go, and how are you going to track that progress?
Absolutely. So we have a lot of momentum culturally, through discipline, and especially academics. So we are cooking up a plan today that is going to be a lot of fun for the kids, but also going to sneak in some, where are we really academically? Let's look at some standardized questions that we're going to give the kids, and let's see how they do. Let's see if Star were tomorrow, how would we do? It's going to be a kind of a mini look, a very macro look at what's going on, because we don't believe in just giving a kid another test. There's got to be a game around it. There's got to be some fun and excitement around it, because in my opinion, that's where you're going to get the best data. You see their full potential. So we're going to continue to build on the academics. We have tons of way to track that. We are data rich, and it's just going to be about breaking that data into information that teachers can use. Culturally, we are still, I mean, we're skyrocketing right now with positivity and excitement. And the pressure is on our leadership team to continue that. And it's like every Taylor Swift album, the next one's got to be better than the last. And so that's where we are with our ideas. Uh, we have to we have to do better than and something a little bit more exciting than the last idea. So those are our priorities. And then the last, we start looking at next year. What worked, what didn't work, what can we do better? Coming in summer, it's kind of odd for a principal to come in and sometimes you just take with what you got and you run with it, which I did not see a broken system. I saw puzzle pieces laying on the ground that somebody needed just to put together. So, last priority is looking towards the future. How are we going to make next year better than this year?
That's a very tough charge to make it more exciting than the last one, especially with junior high kids. They're a tough crowd to please, but
They are a tough crowd to please. You've got to compete with TikTok and Snapchat and everything else that they're on, and for that constant entertainment. And ultimately, the 8 hours that they're here should be just as much entertainment for them in a very constructive and positive way.
if you could leave the community with one message about Snyder Junior High's future, what would it be?
Uh, you are in the middle of the greatest comeback story that's ever been written with the junior high. What part are you going to play? Are you going to be a main character? Are you going to be the antagonist? You got to pick a side, and we want you on our side. And this is going to be something that people are going to be talking about for years, how great the junior high is, and we're going to continue that. So I would say that junior high is back. Come join us.
Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Duncan. I am excited to be part of that comeback story as well. And we are all cheering for Snyder Junior High. We appreciate your leadership, your enthusiasm, your direction, and your relentless belief in our students that they can
Absolutely.
do well. So thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you.